So do we put Ms. Fischer's win in the Tea Party column? We'll talk to Andy Roth, Vice President of Government Affairs for Club for Growth, in just a moment. But first, our very own Jedediah is going to give us her first, as you put it, maiden voyage presentation.
Yes. Well, this was a huge upset. Up until a couple of weeks ago, she was double digits behind either of the other two candidates. And we have the stats to show you. It was Deb Fischer got 41% of the vote, John Bruning got 36%, and Don Stenberg got 19%. Now, why was this a big deal? Well, first of all, let's just say, who is this woman? Because she sort of popped up out of nowhere. She's an 8-year state senator. She's a rural rancher. She has a pretty solid conservative record in the legislature. She has a background in education. She's someone who presented herself as a mom, as a wife, as a business owner, not as a conventional politician. Now, she didn't have a lot of establishment support, which is why she was in last place for a very long time. But the other two candidates had hefty support, as you said. Bruning had backing of much of the GOP establishment, as well as the Tea Party Express, Rick Santorum and Mike Huckabee, some pretty hefty names. Stenberg had the support of Club for Growth, Freedom Works, and Jim Dimon's Senate Conservative Fund, which put about $1.1 million worth of ads into that particular campaign. So she was at a huge disadvantage. How did she turn this around? Well, one major thing happened, and that's what you mentioned. She got the endorsement of Alaska Governor Sarah Palin. And we actually have that quote for you. Sarah Palin has congratulated her today and says, "The message from the people of Nebraska is simple and powerful. America is looking for real change in Washington, and common sense conservative Deb Fischer represents that change." Now, I think she hit the nail on the head with that one. I don't think personally that you can define this as an establishment race versus a Tea Party race. Why? Although there was an establishment candidate, the Tea Party was split. You had the Tea Party Express over here, Jim DeMint over here, Sarah Palin over here. But what you can define it as is a non-politician politician who really took the cake. So you had a non-politician politician, resonated with voters, endorsed by a very powerful non-politician politician, which is Sarah Palin, who came in. Like her or not, this woman is a firecracker in terms of endorsements. If you look back to 2010, you see that she endorsed over 90 candidates. She had over 70% success rate with that. So I think that that was ultimately what pushed this over the edge. Now, I want to ask Andy Roth, who's the Vice President of Government Affairs for Club for Growth. I think we have him with us. I want to ask him what he thought. Andy, hi, how are you? What did you think? What did you think was the key factor that pushed this over the edge? And do you think that the money that you put into these ads in order to bring Bruning down a little bit wound up pushing Fischer over the top once she had that Sarah Palin endorsement in her back pocket?
Yeah, I think actually you got to go back in time a little bit when a lot of these endorsements were made. Fischer was barely, and she was in the single digits, so it was a movement conservative versus an establishment candidate race. It's set up just like it did in Indiana with Lugar and Murdoch, and in future races that we think are going to occur in Utah and Texas and Arizona. So that's how it shaped up when a lot of groups got in. I think the Tea Party Express got in even earlier when the race hadn't even matured to a point where that movement versus establishment setup was even created. And then I think that the voters were just hit with ads on both sides of the Bruning Stenberg thing that I think that they ultimately looked for a third choice. I definitely think that Palin provided a bump to Fischer, but the race was trending already in her direction by the time Palin got on board.
Let me ask you this. Do you feel comfortable calling this a Tea Party victory?
I think it's one of those cup half full sort of situations. We're upset that Stenberg did not win, but we're also relieved that Bruning did not win as well. The fact that a third candidate in the party won is you have mixed feelings about it, but you hope that she goes to Washington and does some good.